Hey, what's up? It's your soccer zombie, Tom Franklin here. And last night's game was so bad that I had to bring on some help for this one here. This is Ethan from the St. Louis City Boys podcast. Say hi to the crowd, Ethan.
I am delighted to be here. I wish that we were talking about a more fun game, Tom.
He's delighted because he needs to vent, and we all need to vent right now. So let's go ahead and vent away after we run this very important intro. And you know what would have been a good place to watch the game last night and maybe drown your sorrows? That Connolly Tavern, located on the corner of Oakland and Tam in beautiful Dogtown, a St. Louis institution since 1942, and a city on tap bar. So you can even check in with your app to Pat Connolly Tavern and possibly get yourself some prizes as well. And of course, me and Ethan were not watching the game live last night. It sounds like that was the correct choice, as we were at a much better game last night, Lexington versus Indy 11. And you can watch that vlog coming up in a couple of days. But we had a good time there, didn't we?
It was a fantastic game, fantastic atmosphere, even with a little less people than the typical Energizer Park atmosphere. However, it was a fantastic example of lower league soccer here in the United States.
Yep, so check that out in a couple of days. All right, we have beat around the bush enough here. We're going to get to these player rankings, which, quite frankly, will be quite rank, for lack of a better term. However, we are going to get the good out of the way, literally, with Ben Loons. He allowed the one goal off the corner. When I saw it in real time, I thought that he was maybe a little bit slow to it, but really, as you pointed out when we were watching the replay, it was a header into the side netting. Not much you can do.
A fantastic effort, to be fair. However, if you want to be critical, I would say that there should be a man on both posts. Absolutely, both posts should be covered on a corner kick. If that's the case, I don't think this goal goes in. However, I don't think Roman Berkey saves this shot either, Tom.
That is totally fair. And, that is maybe a discussion that we can have when we get to Olaf's portion about tactics. But regardless, besides that, Lunt had some good saves throughout this game. 36th minute, 39th minute had some really good stops, diving stops. Had good command of his area. And I thought his distribution was a little bit better this time than last game.
Marginally improved.
I mean, it's baby steps, baby steps. But yeah, I mean, honestly, he was good. I thought he was very good. I mean, he only allowed the one goal. I mean, it's a lesser goal. He might have allowed two or three. So
Mhm.
I thought he was fine. But that's where the positivity ends at the moment. So the next one, we're actually going to go. I want to go into the bad right away here with Akil Watts. I thought he was very just thoroughly unexceptional. He's one that's kind of starting to make me a little nervous with the ball at his feet. Has heavy touches. His passing accuracy was off. He was only 9 of 16 on passing. Quite frankly, Ethan, I've seen enough of him for a while.
At the moment, Akil Watts had probably his worst performance of the season. I've been advocating for him on our City Boys channel, thinking that quietly he's working his way into the starting 11. But after last night, I think his flaws were on display. Tom, you mentioned those heavy touches. Getting into the attack, I think he's lacking just a bit, especially last night.
Yeah, it was just lacking. And look, you root for guys like Watts because he's obviously someone that works very hard, and there are positives to his game, and I can see why someone like Olaf likes Watts, just because of the effort that he puts in. But at the same time, though, I mean, sometimes we are reminded why players like Watts haven't gotten a lot of game time up until this point, and over time time makes liars of us all, and unfortunately, in the case of Watts, I think it's time that he take a bit of a break. I want to see Zelensky out on the right side. We haven't seen him
Agreed.
at all yet this season. They signed him to a big boy contract. Let's give him some big boy minutes, maybe. Or maybe they put Conrad Vollum out on the right because he can do that. And then we put Horn out on the left and actually see Timo Baumgartel on the field for once. Imagine that.
Head scratcher.
Yeah, very much a head scratcher. But Watts, I'm gonna put him back. I don't think he was like trash, but like he just did not have a good game. Next player, his counterpart on the left side, Conrad Vollum. Conrad Vollum, I thought he had a pretty hardworking performance.
Mhm.
He played well on defense, had some good clearances. Another one where you never really have to question the work rate with him per
Yep.
se. It's just that he also, for someone that we know he can unlock a defense, we just didn't see that he was part of the overall problem with the offense last night.
Agreed. Vollum has displayed so much quality on the ball so far this season. I would say that arguably he's one of our best dribblers, and we have Marcel Hartel on the field constantly. So it speaks to his quality on the ball. Last night it was missing. Granted, Tom, like you mentioned, that intensity on the defensive end of the ball. Of course, it's never lacking for Conrad. However, it just wasn't there. It wasn't producing last night.
And it kind of makes you bring up a good point about Hartle being a good dribbler and Vollum's a good dribbler. Maybe you do play Vollum on the right side so that because Hartle plays more towards she shades over to the left a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe you have that opposite field dynamic instead of having your two good dribblers on the same side. So there's an argument to be had there, but I'm gonna rate Vollum as a meh. I thought there was positives to his game, but then his lack of offensive output just kind of nerfed him for me. Next player I'm going to talk about here is Giannis Horn. Giannis Horn, you kind of brought this up as well that he was having kind of a quiet game, and as a defender, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, Tom, you've mentioned on your player rankings before, and I completely agree that when a defender is having a quiet game, when you don't have much to say about your defenders, that generally means they're having a better game. It just means they're not making many mistakes, especially ones that are costly. I didn't see much of that from Giannis Horn. I would even say to his credit that we have improved on crossing, defending crosses,
Yeah.
and I think that's a credit to him and Henry Kessler. I think our defending in those situations has improved due to him.
And he's also, one of the better progressive passers that we have off the back line. He was 35 of 39 for passing last night. But he also had some good stuff on defense, 5 clearances, 3 interceptions, 3 headed clearances. I mean, quite frankly, this was just a 1-0 game. It wasn't the end of the world, and I thought Horn, honestly, I'm going to put Horn in good.
I think we're two glass half full kind of guys, Tom. Maybe if we were half empty, it would be in the meh, but
Well, just wait till we get to the midfield. I think the glass is going to break. When we get to the midfield, but we're not there yet. Thankfully, this is the happy portion of this so far. Henry Kessler. What more can be said about Henry Kessler at this point? Another game where he just does his job well. 6 clearances, 9 recoveries, 3 headed clearances. Uh, Accurate passing. Like the guy had 53 of 58 passing last night, according to FotMob. Like he had the ball in his feet quite a lot, according to FotMob. But I thought he had another good game.
Lieutenant General Henry Kessler back there dictating the game. It's incredible to see from the center back position. And frankly, if there are any questions about whether or not we won the Tim Parker trade, put them to bed. Henry Kessler is a top level MLS center back, and that's been on display all season for St. Louis.
For sure. And last night was not a Henry Kessler problem. He was trying to be part of the solution. So I'm going to put him in good. Only just because he's not Superman. Just that's really the only reason. I have a hard time putting anyone in smash after a loss like that, and he's kind of in that category. Next player we're going to talk about is Kyle Hebert, and I take notes throughout the game, and I put them on my Google Docs here, and through 50 minutes, Ethan, I had nothing written down for Hebert. Like it was a very just non-standout game.
I mean, to your logic, that could be a sign that he was in the better column of our defense, but I am just glad that we've seen him retain the center back position. We
Yeah.
weren't sure after Totland went out if he would move outright, and I'm really glad that he's able to maintain that consistency in the center back position.
He's been very consistent. I did kind of notice after I realized that hey, I hadn't written anything down for Hebert. That I think a lot of the Philly attack was kind of going towards the Watts and Hebert side, which I already talked about Watts, and we don't need to talk about him anymore. Hebert, again, he didn't do anything particularly wrong per se. The issue I have with Hebert is not so specific to last night's game, but just in general, he's not a great progressive passer. He's very limited in that regard. And when you're looking for an offensive spark, Hebert, I mean, except for that one assist that he had, in LA, which I'm still my mind's blown over that one. But like, I'm gonna put him in meh. I mean, because I mean, he was there, he was okay, but like, unlike I thought Horn had more of a standout performance than Hebert.
I think that's completely accurate, Tom. And I want to see Kyle Hebert bring a legitimate long throw to our team. That was not a long throw last night,
No,
and I would love it
airball.
if we did have that.
He airballed that one for sure. Next one we're going to talk about here, we're going to go into the midfield, the nasty midfield, and there's three sureties in life, Ethan, at this point: death, taxes, and Durkin getting yellow cards.
It seems almost automatic. We've absolutely commended Chris Durkin for his work rate. Sometime I have believed that the discipline would be there, but Tom, so far this season, I have not seen it. He has
No.
been reckless in tackles and going forward far, far too often.
Speaking of reckless, I mean, yeah, I mean, there were times where he was leading the attack.
There were
Why?
multiple times when Chris Durkin was our furthest man forward. I cannot fathom why in this side he would be our leading man.
And that's not even anything that I would attribute to, like a coach. And because like he did this during the Carnell era as well. So like, I think he's, again, I've said it before and I've said it again, strong like bull, smart like sidewalk. That is Chris Durkin.
It's because I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing him too much because I rate Chris Durkin, okay? So I don't want to be a hypocrite here. Last night though, for me, Tom,
Yeah.
I would put him in trash. That was probably one of Chris Durkin's worst performances. I saw Indiana Vasilev hit a sombrero flick over him.
Well, jeez, that was. You just gave me a flashback. Yeah, that I saw that as well, and so we can't even commend him on his defense, which is like the one thing that like we know that we can get from him. And offense, 19 to 31 passing, just really wasn't creating anything besides heartburn Saturday night. So I initially was gonna be nice and stick him in just bad, but you know what? I'm going to go with your trash on that one. I'm sorry, Chris. I mean, it's nothing against your work rate. You tried very hard, but it just was not your night.
I just am shocked to see that he is such an attacking influence in this team where I believe his role would be better served as a defender or as someone sitting more in front of more center backs.
Yeah. And while we're on the subject of bad fouls, let's talk about his contemporary in the middle. And I'm just going to stick him in trash right away. I thought Edouard Lubin was absolute dog shit.
The duality of man, Tom.
Mhm.
You loving putting in St. Louis City's only goal last week to this week, bringing us a man down with almost a half hour to go.
Not good. Not good at all.
On top of that, he wasn't very influential in the attack. I don't think he was making impactful passes. Generally, those Edu Lovin long balls that we see were not on point. They were sailing out of bounds. Just an uncharacteristic performance.
Very uncharacteristic from him, and he was just, he had 22nd minute, he had a really bad foul. He got a yellow card in the 55th minute, and then he got the red card, the second yellow for time wasting, which was just, he looked a bit petulant when he kicked that ball away, and it was just, I get it, it was a frustrating night, it was a bad night for him. He only had 79% passing. 34 of 43. So, and like in the 29th minute, there was like that really bad cross when we were in transition, and he tried to cross it to the right side and ended up going into the second row. Like that, Lubin is just having a bad night at the office when he's, shanking crosses into the second row.
I want to give a little bit of credit to my boy Jacob on the City Boys podcast because he says whenever Edu Lovin is playing great, so is St. Louis City. Whenever Edu Lovin is playing bad, St. Louis City is playing worse. He is the engine of our team. And last night, I think, is the perfect example of that.
Yeah, he is the metronome in center mid for St. Louis, and I just wasn't loving it last night. So, don't sue me, McDonald's, for stealing your catchphrase. Marcel Hartl, next one up here, and another one that's, I mean, we know what Marcel Hartl is capable of. We know that he is capable of creating and being an absolute offensive whiz, but I don't know if it's so much the system not linking up to him correctly or what, but he had another performance, Ethan, where I thought he was just off.
Yeah, it seems like a shadow of the Marcel Hartel that arrived in the summer of 2024. That's why a performance like this is so frustrating to see,
Mm,
Tom, because we
yeah.
know the kind of quality that Hartel has, and I'm not sure that we've seen it up to his standard yet so far this season.
No, we haven't. And a couple examples. So like in the 22nd minute, we're trying to transition out of defense. Marcel Hartel makes a really absent-minded heavy touch that gets easily dispossessed. And it looked like he was like his head was somewhere else and he wasn't even focusing on the dribbling. He had a corner kick in the let me see what time was that? It was 34th minute where it was like a really like line drive bender that like no St. Louis player was even near. He was 0 for 5 on crosses. He just was not providing good service at all. I I was going to put him in bad as well. I mean, do you put him in trash?
Tom, how optimistic are we being? Frankly, our midfield was a shadow of themselves. They were
Yeah.
almost non-existent in this game, and I think that's one of the reasons why we are talking about a 1-0 loss here as opposed to getting out of Philadelphia with any kind of points.
And he also Hartle had a couple bad shot choices too, where it was very like low XG and easily blocked. Let me know in the comments below if I'm being too harsh, but Marcel Hartle I'm put in trash. I just he was part of the problem.
Hmm.
Just like Durkin, just like Leuven, I can't absolve Hartle. And I really can't absolve Cedric Toyshirt either. Another game, Ethan, just like it's flashbacks to San Diego where he was just invisible.
Yeah, it seems like the him being the focal point of our attack is not going to work out, in my opinion.
No.
He is just so far been shown to be snuffed out by opponent center backs. I think they can mark him with one center back, and last night Gleason's was the man on him, and frankly, he was pocketed.
Yeah, he was. He was. And he also only had 18 touches when he was out there in 70 plus minutes of play. He just was not a factor at all. And I'm gonna put him in bad only just because like he didn't have a chance to really do anything egregious because he just was not part of. I mean, Hartle was trying to pull strings and was had a bad game and and I put him in trash just because he made some blunders.
Well, yeah, that's the
Said he
thing.
didn't make any blunders, he just didn't do anything.
That's the thing. Hartel made blunders. Said he did not have those blunders to
No,
impact his performance.
he just was not effective. Someone that I thought I thought he had an okay game was Simon Betcher, and I know this is going to sound hypocritical because we're kind of throwing the offense under the bus here, but I liked what I saw from Betcher. What do you think?
I think there's one specific reason that gives Simon Betcher the meh rating, and it is his effort, simply.
Yeah,
Those first 5 seconds after you lose the ball are so critical in the game of soccer.
yeah,
And that is something that Simon Betcher has consistently impressed since arriving at St. Louis City. Those few seconds after he loses the ball or there's a heavy touch anywhere,
yeah.
he's a puma. He's jumping on it.
Oh yeah.
So unlike Marcel Hartel last night, that's what I saw from Simon Betcher, which just at the very least is a commendable effort.
Yeah, I agree, and he did have some decent touches, and he was actually creating chances. Like he had a nice flick in the 34th minute when a cross went long. He was tracking down the ball, and he could have just easily just fired a shot at net, but instead he kind of flicked it back to I think it was Hartle, and Hartle fluffed his line. But I liked kind of what I saw from Betcher last night. He was his usual plucky self.
Yep.
But the thing was he just overall, I don't think him being that hold up striker like Joao Klaus is like suited to be is necessarily Betcher's game.
No.
I also don't think he and Toyshirt have any chemistry whatsoever. And I don't want to see Betcher and Toyshirt on the field together because one's going to cancel the other, or they both cancel each other like they did in San Diego. But again, Betcher, there was positives to his game, and he's like the only offensive player that I will put, at least decently along with Vollum. I mean, all the Vollum was more for his defense. Betcher, I'll give him meh.
Mhm.
I think there was positives to his game.
Fair.
Now we're going to go into the bench here and the substitutions. The first one, Josh Yarrow. Josh Yarrow came on in the 71st minute, part of a trio of substitutions with Morales and Joao Klaus. And I think that Timo Baumgartel, based on what we know about Baumgartel's game, would have been the better sub here, just because when we get on Kyle Hebert for not generating, progressive passes and offenses. Josh Yarrow is an even worse version of Kyle Hebert in that regard. He makes me nervous when the ball's on his feet. He is a no nonsense, clear it out, hold the lead type of a defender. I think that's his role, but he's one of those players, along with like an Akil Watts, where Olaf Melberg just has some weird obsession with him at this point. I mean, after 5 games, I think we can start seeing trends here. And the fact of the matter is, Josh Yarrow has played 5 out of 5 games when, remember, last season we were talking about Josh Yarrow being very fringe on even returning to this club. He's one of the lowest paid members of this club. And I love me some Josh Yarrow. Don't get me wrong. He's a man of the people. I think he is a good human being, and I think there is positives to his game. I just don't think tactically him coming on in the 71st made a lot of sense.
Agreed, Tom. Don't get me wrong. Josh Yarrow is a great man, and I love what he's doing in the community. I'm not going to stick him at right back when we're 1-0 down.
Yeah.
I think when we need an attacking presence or something to spark the attack,
Yeah.
Josh Yarrow is unfortunately not that man. And
No.
seeing him get up that right side was very surprising to me.
Yeah.
To your point, Tom, I think Olaf Melberg does see that kind of nonstop player that he demands from the guys. Like, for example, seeing Giannis Horn get so far forward last night was incredibly shocking.
Yeah.
But Josh Yarrow, for me, just meh.
I was gonna put him in meh, but then remember that long ball in the 77th minute that he completely fluffed.
Oh,
He that that
it's
that
just swinging a
that
bit.
Philly should have honestly broken our backs on that, honestly, and we somehow got bailed out on that. I have no idea how, honestly. I would have to rewatch the game, and let's face it, we're not going to rewatch this game. We don't hate ourselves that much, but because of that, I'm going to put him in bad. It's kind of unfortunate, but it was a really egregious miss, and again, I just don't think he was the right person for the moment.
Sorry.
Next one we're going to talk about is Alfredo Morales, and I don't think it was bad. It's just the problem I have with Morales is the problem that I've been having with Leuven up until this game, and that is there's nothing about Morales that ever really stands out to me.
I was just thinking the same thing, Tom. I am not 100% sure what Morales' role is in the St. Louis City side. Mostly, I feel like I've seen him sit in front of the center backs, and okay, that's an okay role for him to occupy. I'm still not quite sure if that's the kind of substitution that we need if we're 1-0 down.
No, I mean, and he is the designated Edouard Leuven sub, to preserve Leuven, because Olaf even said it this week that he wants Leuven playing 5-star ball, for 60 minutes rather than 3-star ball for 90 minutes. So it's kind of Morales has kind of become the designated Edouard Leuven replacement, kind of like an Edouard Leuven light. It's just like I don't know, like he's not Edouard Leuven. He's a discount Edouard Leuven in so many ways. He did have 15 touches in about 30 minutes, so he was active. He did have 3 passes into the final third, 5 recoveries as well. So it wasn't a bad game from him per se. It's just I saw a lot of flash from him in preseason, a lot of things that may be like, oh, sign him, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I just haven't seen that in the regular season, but nothing bad either. So I'll put him in meh. I mean, I thought he's fine. It's just but he wasn't the solution either. He is basically Edouard Leuven's caddy at this point, for lack of a better term. Next player we're going to talk about is Joao Klaus. Joao Klaus came out in the 71st minute, and he had himself as I mentioned, Morales is kind of Edouard Leuven light. I thought Joao Klaus was Seti Toyshirt light in that he was also invisible and he didn't really do anything.
Yeah, just did not have much of an impact. If we're being harsh, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I think that there's a lot of credit to Klaus's play, that his hold-up play, for example, but it was not on display
No.
again. And I think that we were fighting an uphill battle at that point. Down a man, it seems like he's filling in, trying to plug holes. Just another silent performance from Klaus.
The big thing with Klaus that kind of is sticks out to me is that this is the second straight game that he hasn't started. He did get off the bench for this one here, but if you're talking about a system where you want your offensive focus to be with Toyshirt and Hartle, underneath the striker, wouldn't your DP target man forward, that's an expert at holding up play, be the right player in that situation? So why is he not getting starts? Is he in Olaf's doghouse?
I mean, you have to think so. Klaus is the kind of player that causes chaos in our attacking third, especially for opposing defenses. We just haven't seen it. He has not been on the field. He has not got the starting kind of minutes. And I think it's totally fair for St. Louis City fans to be clamoring to see our, at least at one time, DP9.
Yeah, so it's gonna sound a little unfair, but I'm gonna put him in bad just because you bring him on to be a solution, and he's just not the solution at that point. I did see that he confronted Carnell after the game. Some bad blood there from his time in St. Louis, but that's a whole different issue. I'm not going to speculate as to what went in on that, but it's good to see Klaus getting a little feisty. Next player, big grin, Celio Pompeu. Happy that Olaf's actually using him now.
I know. As far as performance is concerned, really, I could care less if he kicked the ball out of bounds 100 times. I was just happy to see Celio on the
Same.
field. I was just happy to see his energy on the field. And like I said, even though we were fighting an uphill battle, I don't think we had any shot of getting back into this game. He looked as if we did have that chance.
I'm going to make an analogy with Celio here. So, like, the Blues have Oscar Sundquist, who is also a noted St. Louis City, stan, and Oscar Sundquist is not the greatest player on the ice. He is far from it. He is probably a very fringe fourth liner at this point. But you know what? We love Oscar Sundquist, and we love that he loves St. Louis, and we just feel the vibes from him that you just want him to succeed. That is Celio Pompeu. He is the Oscar Sundquist of St. Louis City. Is he the best player on the club? No, but we still love him anyway. And we kind of got to look, Ethan, at how maybe Olaf could deploy him going forward, because he replaced Toy Shirt in the 74th minute and kind of played that SETI Toy Shirt role as kind of like a second striker, shadow striker, kind of. A lot of chatter among St. Louis fans that we haven't seen him at wingback at all yet. Maybe that's just how Olaf doesn't see him. But we kind of got to look at how he could be used. But the interesting thing here is that Klaus came on for Betcher, and then Seti came on for Toy Shirt. But I thought the two played the opposite roles, where Klaus was invisible like Seti, but yet Celio was kind of the stir it up, kind of a forward, trying to make things happen. And again, Celio's come a long way from his leg injury, so like I don't think we've seen the real Celio as of yet. But again, it's always encouraging to see him play, and it's encouraging to see Olaf maybe have a plan for him.
Agreed, Tom.
Yeah, but still, though, I mean, besides all the positivity, offense didn't muster anything, and he was on the field for that as well. So I'm gonna give him a meh, just because kind of like with Betcher, there's things about Betcher's game that I liked. There's things about Celio's game that I liked. It just wasn't fully working. And then the next one here, actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother rating Joakim Nilsson because he wasn't out there very long. I didn't see nothing that stood out to me for him. And quite frankly, why is Nilsson coming out when we're down a goal? When you need a spark on offense, like why isn't Ostrak coming on out there for Durkin?
For any kind of attacking impact, any kind of spark at this juncture in the game, we were fighting against it, but we were still just a goal down. Any kind of bad turnover, any kind of laziness or fatigue from Philadelphia could have won us a point there. So
yeah. So I'm going to do something a little controversial here. So this leads into our discussion on Olaf Melberg, and I'm going to quite frankly, we'll put him in trash. because I have so many questions about how Olaf is deploying his players, like the increased reliance on Akil Watts, the obsession with Josh Yarrow, not having Klaus out there as that hold up striker when that is literally his game. Simon Betcher is not a hold up striker. He is the tip of the spear, on offense. He is a poacher that is also a pressing forward. He is not a hold up striker. He and Seti don't work well together. I don't know why Olaf can't see that. Made no changes at halftime when it was clear that changes needed to be made. Brings on Nilsson instead of Tomas Ostrak, late in the game when you need an offensive spark. I mean, I can go on and on.
There were so many questionable decisions, and I just am shocked at the freedom that Chris Durkin has to roam. Yes. To mention, Chris Durkin and Leuven were both on yellow cards at one point in that game. It just seemed reckless. At one point, Marcel Hartel was having to defend deep in our own end. Just so far questionable.
And where is Timo? Where is Timo? Timo is not here, not here, not here, not here. He is not anywhere. What is the deal with Timo Baumgartner? Like, why did we sign him if we're not going to play him?
Especially to be deployed so often in preseason. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand getting his feet under him. Okay, he did. He's worked up his fitness now. We're nearly 5-6 weeks into the season. At this point, if he is not fit enough to go, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm also wondering, Tom, what is going on with Timo Baumgartl? It seems like he could provide the stability that the defense needs.
And not only that, but he's a good progressive passer. He has that in his locker. And when we need offense, we don't need Josh Yarrow out there. We need Timo Baumgartl. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless there's something going on that we don't know about, which again, that's quite a possibility. As we're learning over time, there was a lot about Bradley Carnell's tenure that we didn't know about at the time. That's kind of slowly coming out. I mean, with Klaus butting heads with him afterwards. And then, I mean, and the other thing is that, okay, it's 5 games in now. I think we have the right to be concerned about our offense now.
I completely agree. I mean, a goal from a set piece and
1 goal from open play all season.
I mean, Tom, it's not looking super convincing right now.
No.
On top of that, we still have yet to see João Klaus hit the back of the net this calendar year. But I don't believe he scored since May or June of last year.
Tom. No, and that's a concern in of itself, and maybe that's part of the reason why he's in Olaf's doghouse. We don't know. We don't really know, but a lot was made, during Bradley Carnell's time about how energy drink soccer, playing a high press, isn't sustainable long term. Well, being the little Dutch boy with the finger in the dam, as your offensive philosophy is not sustainable long term either. So something has to give and something has to change because we can't keep having these goalless 1 goal games and expect to succeed.
I would really love to see St. Louis City assert their style of play onto a team. 5 games in, and we have essentially seen 4 teams run us over for 90 minutes, averaging around 30 to 35% possession of the ball. Mm-hmm. I mean, frankly, it's not games that I enjoy watching. I want to see St. Louis City play with the ball. I think that we have so much quality on the field. Our spine is incredible. Edu Leuven and Henry Kessler are 2 amazing players. When Roman Berkey's in, the distribution from the back is incredible. Yeah. And we have not seen any of it this season.
We have not. We have absolutely not. And it's concerning, as, again, we're going to have a home game against Austin next Sunday. By the way, City 2, you can get in for that free as well. If you go to the Austin game, definitely check them out. But it is going to be concerning, playing in front of an energized crowd and you're playing this boring brand of football. We're going to have 1-0s, 0-0s, and, that, yes, it saps the other team, but it also saps your fan base as well. So, we need... Something just has to give with this offense now. I think we've given Olaf enough grace here, but now we have to start questioning, okay, what is wrong with the offense and how do we fix it?
Agreed, Tom. Listen, defense wins championships, offense wins games, okay? You can't win if you don't score more than the other team. It's very simple, and it's cut and dry right now for us St. Louis City fans. We're unsatisfied with the attack's output.
Anyway, let me know if these rankings were too harsh or maybe I was being too nice to some players as well. I think that is quite possible as well. Leave a comment below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more St. Louis City content like this one. And then also, thank you to the Zombie Ultras like Ethan Thornton over here, who helped me not just get to games like Lexington and Indy 11 to bring to you, but also, quite frankly, helps pay my internet bill and, pays for the software that I use to make content for you. So thank you so much to everyone in the 4.99 Zombie Ultras, as well as 99-cent supporter section. You guys are the originals and the OGs, and I really do thank you for your support. This is your soccer zombie, Tom Franklin, here along with Ethan Thornton of the St. Louis City Boys podcast. You can see the logo on the sweatshirt right there. And again, where can they find you?
On YouTube, Spotify, come check us out. Don't forget to tell your mother you love her, and we'll see you next time.
All right, absolutely. And I'm going to put a video over Ethan's head right now. It's going to be a good one. I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm just going to let YouTube decide on this one here. Because, I'm done thinking because this team
Did they click on
hurts my
head?
brain. Did
Can
they?
you guys click on my head?
Yeah, just click it. Give it a good click.